Well, hey there, Lusketiers, and welcome back to the podcast. My name's Levi.
I'm Jennie.
And we are honored that you would come and spend some of your time with us today.
The fact that you're here listening to us is just not lost on us.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you would want to come into this moment with us, join this conversation, be blessed. I'm just amazed. So we welcome you in, and it's like we're sitting here in this little space. If you're watching and you can see us and you're not just listening, it's like you're here sitting on the couch with us in a bottle of water or cup of tea.
Well, that was a real journey you took us on with all of the hydration possibilities.
Well,
I didn't know where it was going, and I'm glad I got there.
Stay hydrated.
No, it is so true. Today we have the one and only Bear Grylls on the podcast.
I can't believe that we're saying that.
That is a sentence I just said. The only podcast guest we've ever had who has climbed Mount Everest. Okay, let's just let it stay there. Let's just allow that to be right there. I mean, a part of the British Special Forces. I mean, by the way, he was 23 years old when he climbed Mount Everest. Of course, all of the shows, all of the work as a Scout ambassador, all of the books, not the least of which is his brand new book, which we are such big fans of.
Oh my gosh. Don't even get me started.
Just give him a little, just give him a little, the title of it and what one thing you loved about it.
Okay, the title of it is The Greatest Story Ever Told, an eyewitness account. And when we actually had the conversation with him, you were the only one who had read it at that point. I hadn't gotten to read it yet. And so after the conversation, you so kindly gave me your copy and I started reading it and was just amazed by it. It's basically what it is, an eyewitness account from 5 different people who interacted with Jesus from their perspective. So it's the story of Jesus from the people closest to him in his life, from their perspective. And it's biblical. Everything that Jesus says in it is from the Bible, but it just has this beautiful creativity that it sucks you into the story, and just, it's like you can get more of a 3D vision and experience with who Jesus was when walking on the earth. And
very well said.
I'm amazed.
How many
by
copies
it.
do you think you've bought to give away of this book since you read it?
Well, I've bought maybe 25 copies and given, and I think I have like 7 left, but I've given them away to people in our lives who either come to visit us, and I think that they would love it.
This is how into this book this girl is. She doesn't do that with every book she reads by a long shot. She was like, I remember you came to me like, I want everyone to read this book. And it's really, that's how I felt as well. And Bear actually says, I mean, this is a guy who's climbed Mount Everest, who's in the Special Forces, who's traveled the world, who's had multiple shows watched around the world. He says he hopes this unique book is his legacy.
Yeah.
He thinks it's the most significant thing he's ever undertaken. And it's powerful.
Yeah.
So I've read it. You've read it. Jennie has 18 people who have read it, and then 7 more copies to give out. So maybe if you play your cards right, you could get one of Jennie's additional
you too.
7 copies. But before we go to our convo with Bear, we have to let you know something we're so excited about. It's November 5th now. We're moving into our year-end time. And so many of us are thinking about generosity and philanthropy and hopefully charity. Just how can we, at the end of the year, come around, of course, the idea behind Christmas, which is God sending Jesus and giving, and not just gifts that we give to the loved ones. That's important, but also ways we can prioritize the last and the least of these.
Yeah.
You know, those who are dealing with hard circumstances. And we're really excited to invite the pod community, our Lusketier fam, to come around, something we're doing at Levi Lusko Ministries towards our year end, the nonprofit work we're doing, where we take those who are on our email list and those who, follow us through, maybe you hear short form little teaching clips, or anybody who reads our books. Maybe you have your own church you go to, but you're kind of connected in with us. And we push that involvement towards this Levi Lusko Ministries outreach, which every year looks different, but we're so excited this year about something we're doing to raise scholarship money to help young people, specifically who are Native American youth living in and around the reservations near where we live and do ministry, to help tear down obstacles to get young people to be a part of Movement Conference.
Yes.
And life in these reservation communities can be difficult and bleak, a lot coming against them, lower life expectancy, rampant suicide, alcohol abuse, just difficulty and a lot that young people are facing. Yeah. And we're really trying to make it possible for as many Native youth as we can get around to come towards Movement Conference, be there, have an experience, meet Jesus, go back to their homes on fire for God, hopefully. And we're excited because for the first time ever, we've had a very generous matching gift that's going to match every gift that comes towards this year-end initiative up to $50,000.
Wow.
Which I think last year, the on that Levi Lusko ministry side, we saw over $30,000 come in. And so we're praying that up to $50,000, it becomes double. So every gift you give, if you go to levilusko.com between now and year end and you're able to give towards this fund, it's going to be matched. So this $50,000 could turn into $100,000. And we're going to see all of this used to see young people reached and impacted. And, we're working hard to let churches on the reservation know they can be a part. And we're just so excited about that. Chartering buses, literally making it possible with the food and the tents and just everything for these students to know Jesus' love.
I love this with all my heart.
So if this pod means something to you, and you're touched by that, would you consider between now and year end a gift? All you have to do is go to levilusko.com, click the gift. It's of course tax deductible. All of our part of the 501c3. All of this is going to go towards young people being reached, and we're excited to see more and more Native youth specifically impacted through these scholarships that are going to go out. So thanks for praying about what you might do.
Yes.
And we're excited to see what happens. I'm even now literally getting texts from the person who's going to match these gifts, because I was just telling them I'm going to tell the Luskatier fam as well about it.
I got it too.
That's so exciting. I love generosity. I love I was talking to the people behind it, and they're literally like crying, so moved and touched by this thought. So okay.
Let it be, Lord.
Well, Bear Grylls, remember when we met Bear?
Yes, we were at Chosen Con. And he was there speaking, and then we were all working out as a family, and he was there working out with his son.
Yeah.
And we just happened to collide.
And then we rode water slides.
Actually, one of the most fun water slides.
You don't think that sentence is what was going to come, do you? But it did. Because he was stretching and doing a lot of mobility work.
He just doing handstands.
Yes. I was watching that work. I was like, that is a limber man right there. He's limber. He is loosey-goosey with them joints, man. Right? And I was doing my awkward weightlifting.
No, you're not awkward.
And then we were chatting
He's
stuff.
Just
and then
very smooth.
We were all like, hey, do you want to ride water slides? And everyone was like, yeah. And it feels like a dream,
It does. Even saying it sounds like a dream.
But off we went. And then we were in the lazy river. It was just a good time.
And he's so kind. And I just love this conversation with him. It was really... I mean, you'll see it. You'll just see.
There's a lot of.
I will go into it, but
there's a lot of firsts on this, and I think he literally in his classic Bear Grylls, the first guest to ever do the entire episode outside. Right, pretty quickly he moves outside, and so the episode goes. You'll see why. By the end, his laptop's getting rained on. It's just crazy, but it's on brand for sure for Mr. Bear Grylls. So please enjoy this conversation. Well, Bear, it is such an honor to have a conversation with you today, honestly.
Thank you.
You're so sweet, guys. I kind of don't do many of these, but I like doing them when I feel it's with friends. And I feel amongst friends. And even though we've only met those couple of times, Levi and Jennie, I feel instantly felt a beautiful connection with you guys. As you know, we were at that quite crazy event, Chosen Con. That's a whole nother subject, but amazing. Yes. But I instantly felt a nice connection with you guys. So really lovely to see you again.
Well, that was your introduction to us. We needed no introduction to you because you've been almost a part of our family for so long.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, we were talking in the car driving in today. We were such and are such fans of yours so early on. I mean, I think Running Wild started, Man vs. Wild started in 2006. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, and we started our church in 2007, and literally I have the memories going back with Jennie and our oldest daughter, Olivia, and then Linya, our daughter who's in heaven. When they were very young, we would watch it every single week. And the girls couldn't believe it, the things you were doing. Like we would just sit there in disbelief as you drank urine out of a rattlesnake skin, as you squeezed elephant dung to find nutrients. Like and the girls were like, no. And it was so funny because we would watch Running Man vs. Wild, and we would watch Man vs. Food. That was another big show at the time.
Yes.
And it was like two polar ends of the spectrum. Here's this man eating unhealthy, copious amounts of food, and here you are doing the most superhuman strength,
Well, I'll take the compliment. I think so much so those early days of Man vs. Wild, especially at the start, I really kind of, as soon as the show started to get popular, I really started to struggle. And I know the turning point for me, it was when I went to big like Discovery Channel upfronts where they do all their advertising stuff. And I met for the first time the head of Discovery Channel, who at that time was a guy called David Zaslav, who now runs all of that huge kind of Warner Brothers Discovery world. But he said to me, Bear, now over 1 billion people are watching the show. And I literally felt like my confidence drain. I literally was like somebody had unplugged my big toe in the car. And and always, we were probably season 2 at that stage. And it always had just felt like me and my 3 or 4 best buddies going on an adventure, shooting this stuff. We didn't care about if there was mud on the lens and rain on the lens. And I was always falling down or tripping over or saying, and all of that. And I always used to scratch my nose like that when I was nervous. And, we never cared, and suddenly when we learned that lots of people were watching it was starting to work, you'd kind of think my confidence started, but actually it really drained. And I struggled for a long time after that. And I think now, and the point of telling the story, I think nowadays when I hear nice stories like you and your wonderful family, kind of that being part of your life, it's kind of reminds me actually it's not something to be scared of. It's something that's beautiful, and it's connections with people, and it's you're part of making kind of fun memories and family memories, and hopefully along the way learning a few kind of cool skills that one day might save someone's life. Who knows? Although that's happened a bunch of times, that's kind of cool as well. But I don't know, it's connections. And with my family now, with our 3 boys, I'm always saying to them when people are kind and come up in the street, wherever we are in weird places around the world. I always say, now they know it, but I used to say to them when they were growing up, I'd say, it's like friends all over the world. That's all it is, friends all over the world. And it's really the legacy thing for me out of my work. It's the thing it's the only public part of it that I like, is that connections with beautiful people. So you are one of them. Thank you. I feel part of your lovely family. Thank you.
No, you were and are in that way. Don't you remember that?
Yeah. No, I remember. It's just such a sweet memory with even our daughter who's in heaven. Like, just kind of the things that would kind of, I don't know, just fun moments to just kind of decompress. You were part of that. So it was
usually
really sweet.
Sundays after church. We're all kind of tired. We'd be vegging on the couch. Yeah. And that's honestly, those 2 shows were like, are the most strong memories of that season in my life. And it's so special. And it was warm, and it did inspire me to want to get more adventurous and do more outside. And your voice is so iconic. I was telling the girls when we were voice memoing back and forth a little bit, and we were listening to your voice come in on my phone talking to me, and it was like so surreal because your voice has such a unique cadence to it. Yeah. And I think that's part of the charm. I think people like listening to your voice. You're calming. My favorite part of your shows was always and is always when you would, you might be out with Shaquille O'Neal or Roger Federer or President Obama, but it didn't really matter because you weren't like out with a celebrity or being a celebrity. It was like we were listening in on like therapy sessions because you would just get down to it and you would pour out your guts on the hardest parts of your journey, and it gave a safe space for them to do the same. Yeah. And I would imagine for you, that's probably a treasure, some of those special moments where people would let their guards down and open up their pain to you.
Yeah, that's such a good observation. And I always feel with that show, the real star in the whole thing is the wild. The wild does my job for me, really. I can show up and be a guide and keep them alive and keep them close and lead them on the adventure. But ultimately, if you're quiet enough and you give it space and give it time and are not competitive with people, I think that's been the heart of it as well, is I'm always there to help them shine and hear their stories. And I think if you give that enough space and you face a few fears together and cross a few rivers and, eat a few bugs and, but above all, give it a bit of space as well, the good stuff always comes out, because then people are honest and kind of, it's not like a chat show performance for 3 minutes where your guests are trying to be funny for 3 minutes tell a story, or, this is different. You're 2 days in the wild and you have time. And I think, as you say, as long as I'm vulnerable with them, they often will be back. And the wild never judges. It's one of the beautiful things about the outdoors. But
wow.
Yeah, so that one's definitely been a privilege. It's just back to what you were saying, though, of like watching it with your family and your daughter in heaven was such a beautiful way to talk about it. And I think sometimes also when you reconnect with people like this and you have a history of something like that experience you're saying with Man vs. Wild, watching it, and then you think about all you've been through, and then her in heaven, and it's like, nothing is the end. Everything is linked. Even this conversation, yeah. I hear her, and you can feel her spirit just cheering you guys on. And also, what an amazing example you've been of, like, honest and strong and weak and vulnerable, but also determined and holding on to the good stuff. And, we're all still in the battle of life. She's beyond that. She's seeing something far greater. And
Amen.
I don't know, I get just such a sense of her being so proud of you, and I don't know how often you guys ever get to hear it, but she must be just so proud of you, everything you do, how you've kept going. I mean, talk about survivors and
wow.
quiet resilience and humble strength. You guys have that.
Oh, man.
Oh my goodness.
Wow,
thank you,
really
Bear.
touching. Okay, just give a second to compose ourselves as we sit here silently sobbing.
We'll have a sip of tea. See, the wild
No, that's good. Hey,
it's
cheers.
now started raining here. That's the other great thing. It's like
wow.
you can have a point of a conversation and then it starts to rain. It's perfect. It's like, here we go.
Yeah, that was the one thing I would always watch. When I watch your shows, I always think, man, I just want you to have a coffee in the morning, because you would be having like bug soup for bed, or hey, we can scrounge these crawfish we found in this log and we'll eat them. And then in the morning when you guys would be heading out, I would always be like, I just want them to have a hot coffee or something. That must have been some of those mornings.
I got to admit, over the years, I definitely learned that the hardest part for the guests is, everyone can be enthusiastic and go for it day one, but it's after you've slept in a cave and, first night out often for the guests. And, it's kind of, I learned early on, morning day 2 is when everyone has that down bit. And after about 4 seasons, I should have learned this earlier, but after about 4 seasons, I just realized we've got to tell the crew, when you come in the morning, just fill your water bottle with nice fresh coffee from where you guys have been staying, bring it in, stick a sort of a bread roll in your pocket. Doesn't matter if it's been crushed, it's just going to be nice. And actually, I always now give them a nice sort of half flask of fresh coffee before second day.
Yeah, brilliant.
That's when they need that pick me up, and it's like, one more day, we're going to finish strong. And that normally kind of sees them through. They still get the pug coffee as well, but they just get a few sips of good crew coffee along the way.
No, that probably goes a long way.
Well, I just want to tell you, because your warmth and your kindness exudes through the screen, through the camera, but getting to meet you in person was such a joy, for many reasons. But one is just like your warmth and kindness and who you are is even more than what comes through the screen. And you're just so welcoming and focused in a conversation, and there's just so much warmth. And did you grow up in a home that was like that had that warmth
and
kindness?
Nature, like, nurture? Did you have to work at that?
Yeah, is that who you are? Or, it is who you are, but how did you learn that?
Yeah, I think I think my faith has been a big part of that. I think my family now are a big part of it. I think these are things that grow in us, don't they? And they start off small. And, you know, I don't know. I had a really lovely dad who was sadly died too young. He was a commando and an outdoor guy, and he loved all of that, and always really cozy as well as tough, you know, and unpushy and silly, and we'd climb stuff, we'd swim and stuff, but he'd always laugh at himself. And I don't know, I kind of grew up with that and I look back now and I love that in him. My mum was very kind of focused and quite kind of determined, and she's kind of softened, I think, with the years, and she's now sort of 83, and she's had so long without my dad that I kind of, you know, I kind of realized actually her journey's been really hard, and we're so much closer now. And
wow,
she's, you know, she's unique and amazing. But I think the main thing is at a young age, I got married to Shara when we were in our early 20s, and we both lost our dads in our first year of marriage. And I think that really kind of rocked our world, but also brought us together, you know, and then you have kids, and you kind of, I don't know, then my faith grew, and same with her. And I don't know, there's been as many stumbling steps backwards, to be honest, as there has been forwards. And it really hasn't been all kind of, you know, easy. But I don't know, I think if you ask for help and you ask for the light of the Almighty, it comes. And I think if you try and put that on every day, and it's just been a habit for me for many years of starting the day on my knees and asking for help, saying sorry for my failures, asking for the light to shine, you know, I think, and that becomes you, doesn't it? And my grandpa always used to say, when you're 20, you get the face of God's and the body that God's gave you with. When you're 50, you get the face and the body that you deserve. You know? And if you kind of like, if you live with sort of smiles and love and positivity, you're going to have laughter lines. And if you live with the scowl and angry and sort of bitter, your face, you start to look like that. So
that is
I don't know, I kind
really
of always
good.
like that.
That is profound.
Although my family do always say to me, look at you're always scowling. Look at your wrinkles.
Jennie will always come up to me and push right here if it's too
gentle.
She doesn't like. She's like, hey, come on, smile on this. And she has said, because our story mimics yours in a lot of ways. Married in our early 20s. This last year, a year ago, I lost my father. We've not like you. I mean, you've really lost essentially 3 fathers, because you lost your godfather at 16, and then you lost your father and father-in-law in the same year when you were in your early 20s, right? And your dad was quite young, 66.
But, you know, it's the story of life, isn't it? It's like, you know, it happens to all of us, you know, and sometimes it gets accelerated. Sometimes it's too young. Sometimes it's like your case, sort of beyond imaginable and just so hard. And, you know, but it happens to everyone eventually. And I think, you know, it's funny now, so many of our friends, suddenly their parents are all getting old, and, you know, a lot of them say to us, God, we just didn't really understand what, you know, that loss that you guys were going through. It's almost kind of like, you know, everyone's apologetic for a week, and then they forget, and then they get on, and they assume you get on with it. And listen, you guys have had this times 1,000, but, you know, I don't know, it's a funny thing, isn't it? It's what binds us together there again.
Yeah.
But that father loss is significant. And I knew my dad was my best friend, and I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea how catastrophic it would be and how unprepared I was for how difficult it was. Even having gone through the loss of a child, it's its own catastrophic category, because I don't think you're ever ready to not have a dad. And
I really think that's right. Yeah. And also for you, I suppose, you know, it's like when you're going through, you know, your loss, it was like you've always got that backstop, and you've got that dad who kind of understands and again is, you know, loving and beautiful with you. And you know, it doesn't take too many bricks to be taken away from underneath us before the whole thing starts to wobble. And, you know, even as men and women as faith, you know, I know we build our foundation on the Lord, but the thing is, the brackets after that is as best we can, as best we can. It's a daily thing. It's not like you've built it and it stays standing for the next 100. It's a daily thing. We fail all the time. And you're right, our foundations get rocked all the time. And I kind of think in life, the more I've lived, I've realized it's just part of life. It's okay. It's okay. Lean on the good people around you. Lean on the Lord as much as you can. Have good days, have bad days, fail. It's okay. It's okay. Your book, Levi, says it beautifully. You know, you say that. You say God cannot get any closer to you. You know, you can't earn that little bit that because you've done this, he's going to be that little bit closer to you. You can't, he can never get more close. He is as, you know, and when you, as you say in your book, once you start to live like that, the freedom comes because then you don't care so much about like, you don't care that it's raining and what you look like and this and that. And like, you know, the suffering and the struggles and the battles. And it's like, it's, you know, the long game is okay. And it's a great freedom, isn't it? So long may we try and find that every day, all of us in our lives.
Yeah. Wow. We loved getting to meet Jesse, your son, who's your oldest son. He's an artist. I follow him on Instagram and see his art and get to see some of the adventures. And he posts some little moments with you guys are out kind of on the boat and having family day. I love that insight into your unguarded life at home. You have two other children, Marmaduke and Huckleberry. So you took a sharp right turn in names after Jesse because Jesse's pretty straight-laced. But then you went Marmaduke and Huckleberry. These might be some of the greatest names I've ever heard of.
Yes.
Well, actually, in England, Jesse was that was a hard turn, really, because nobody really is called Jesse in the UK. So we started off quite what was in the UK considered, left field. Marmaduke, we lived at that stage, Shara and me. Our only home was on a houseboat on the Thames in the middle of London, an old like steel, rusty Dutch coal barge, 100 years old. And that was our home for the first 7 years of our life. And Marmaduke means sea captain. So we kind of thought that was appropriate. And then by the time Huckleberry came along, it was like, well, to be honest, the whole gloves were off by this stage.
The gloves were off by this stage.
We kind of thought also, like, he might not get the job, but he's going to get the job interview. You're going to want to meet Huckleberry Grylls.
He might not get the job, but he's getting in the door. God. You better be darn sure he's getting in the door. Well, where we live, do they have Huckleberries in England?
No, they're not many. All Marmadukes, really. So, or Jesse. So, but I don't know. I think life is meant to be. It's meant.
Oh
to
no,
be
I meant the berry. Do they have the berry Huckleberry?
Oh, Huckleberry. No, not really. We have. Obviously, I eat them a lot when I'm in the States. In fact, it was the Obama when we did that adventure. He said that was his favorite fruit. So I thought, there we go.
Well, they are all over this region, August or September, depending on when they ripen. And they only grow where a fire has been. They only grow in an area where a fire's come through. And so one of the benefits is you get these huckleberries on the heels of fire. And I think that's a pretty apt metaphor for
I love it.
The kind of rising we can do from the ashes. And I think even about you wrote about it in the Times article that we you just published, which you talk about being in a tree on the back end of your godfather's death and really being pushed into the arms of Jesus in a new way, in a more violent way. I feel like you're a little bit like Zacchaeus, that you climbed up in a tree to encounter Christ. And yet the beauty of your godfather's homecoming, as painful as it was, drove you to Jesus. And that does seem to be an apt metaphor for kind of the beauty and brilliance of the grit that you've put on display in your life.
I like that. That's a nice way of seeing it. I mean, at the time I was age 15, I was trying to figure stuff out. I'd always had a natural kind of faith as a really young kid. I knew there was something out there, but I couldn't really articulate it. Then I went to school. Then we got forced to go to church every day. And that kind of killed it for me. Suddenly like it was all, half of it was in Latin at the school I went to, always in like big robes and white robes. I don't know. I just thought, I've really got it wrong.
You were put off by it.
Well, I just thought, I just thought it was cozy and free and fun and natural, and then it's been a lifetime of unwinding to realize faith is cozy, free, fun and natural.
Wow.
And it's nothing to do with church the other thing that I struggle with is I met lots of people who, or a few people at school who were sort of, the Christians, and they were always a disapproving one. They always thought I was sort of like, always slightly looked down their nose at me, always telling me off for, most of the things I was doing. And I know, again, it's like, it's been a lifetime of unlearning. It's like, I love Elvis, but sometimes the Elvis impersonators can be a bit weird, and I think it's a bit like that we can't judge
what
That's
God is
really
like on just all the
insightful.
people we meet who have a faith who sometimes are amazing, but often a little bit kind of, can be a little bit scary if you're new to the whole thing.
Wow. Okay, now I do have to ask, you mentioned school. That was
so
all so good. We
good.
could talk for an hour about just that sentence. But tell me about just getting kicked out of school because you kissed the headmaster's daughter.
Whoa.
Is this accurate?
You going there?
That is accurate. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, the bang for buck was bad, but I mean, the kiss was the quickest kiss in history.
But it was the shot heard around the world.
I know. Yeah, it lasted about 10 seconds, and then she ran straight out and then got caught and blamed it all on me, and that was.
Oh,
Wow,
gosh. Joseph situation.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I didn't get
she
kicked out.
called him Joseph. She called him Joseph. You didn't get kicked out. You just got in hot water.
I was just going to say, actually, because it was the end of my time at school, it would have been better to be kicked out. They actually made me stay behind in the summer holidays for 5 days and write out Latin verses for 5 days. So,
oh my goodness.
yeah,
Oh, man.
the buck wasn't worth the whatever. Yeah,
The crime was not worth the time, or the time was not worth the crime.
Yeah, there
Okay.
you go.
Now speaking of love affairs, you have been married for 25 years to your wife, Shara. That is an incredible feat in and of itself. That's a quarter of a century. Hello.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. It's one of the things I'm proudest of, really. The work stuff comes and goes in our life, and you speak to that beautifully in your book as well. You can't build your worth in life on our jobs. And, when you're kind about the TV shows, I take it as a compliment, but I also kind of let it go. It's like my work. The things of pride in my life are definitely rooted, to be honest, in family, that I'm still married to Shara, and she's been just a rock and a beautiful thing in our family's life, and wonderful mother to our 3 boys, and then obviously our children, and they're beautiful and incredible, and it's a great gift. And I don't know, I think I no longer apologize for family first, how I live life, and we turn down a lot of work stuff because it's not the right time for the family, and I don't apologize for that any longer. I think for many years, in the early years, I was way too much and on the back foot and under pressure, and and got so many things wrong, and was always walking that line with the family, and everything suffers. And I think I've just learned over the years, prioritize family. It's the only real wealth we have in our lives, is our relationships with those we love and close to us. It can never be measured in monetary terms and other ways of measuring it. So yeah, she's amazing, and I'm really proud of the family.
And she wrote a book called Hold Hands Every Day. Is that like a mantra for marriage?
She wrote a really sweet book called Marriage Matters. I think actually in the States it was called Never Stop Holding Hands.
That's what I saw. Okay.
And it's just little kind of lines on what makes a good marriage. And it's so interesting over the years, because so many people quietly come up and go, they love that book. And she's actually redoing it at the moment. And she goes, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back through it, and all the hundreds of little one-liners on marriage, I'm now going to give a postscript to it, after 25 years of marriage.
Yeah.
So I looked over her shoulder yesterday, and she was going, there's one that goes, be to her strengths very kind, be to, or his or her faults very blind. And
Great.
she was going, should I do a postscript of all your bad habits and picking your toenails? And so
that's awesome.
I actually don't know what she's doing, but I hope she's not going to be too unkind with it.
Too
but
real.
She's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
I can't wait to meet her.
On sort of the important things in life as well. She's very sort of unglitzy. She's very sort of undazzled by things. And I think in the early days of TV, everyone's, suddenly a TV show works and there's a whole bunch of other pressures that come with it. And she was always very, especially in the early days, kind of grounding about like, let's not do that. Let's just be together, or let's, and with press stuff. And again, over the years, she's been so right. Less is always more. It's just become a mantra for us in terms of press stuff. Just play the long game, less, do the important things you really care about, but don't be pushed into just loads and loads of press things. And I know she's smart. She's got a beautiful instinct for people as well. So yeah.
Seems like she's a bit of ballast for you.
She is. I'll remind her. Jennie, how's that going to go down when I remind her that she's been described as ballast?
Well, we're not going to tell her that. I'm saying emotionally, not physically.
You put in the bottom of the boat.
Okay, the way you just described her.
A great conversation. Yeah.
You really weigh me down, honey.
Dead weight.
Dead weight. Oh my God.
All right. Well, it's going to go great when I get to meet her for the first time.
But the word ballast sounds so much better than what it means.
Yeah. And they do measure weight in England by stones, right? How many stones you are. So it's anyhow, right. I'm going to dig out of that pit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Does she get out in the wild with you? Would she like adventure like that?
She is. No, less so. She's a beautiful reason to come home always. She's a home bird, but at the same time, I don't underestimate her streak of steel when there comes occasions. I mean, the difference is she doesn't go out seeking it, but sometimes adventure comes to us. And, we live on this little island in North Wales. We're offshore, off grid. She's brought children up there in some horrific weather of doing 7-mile sea crossings in the night in force 8 gales with babies and dogs and, the days of no radios or cell phones. And she never complained. I mean, I remember one time we'd done it'd been a whole day's trip to go to the mainland in these storm force conditions, get all our washing done because we didn't have a washing machine, went to the laundrette. Came back with 3 big bags, 3 children, all their thing, a month workload of washing, taken all day ironing and pressing everything, putting in these waterproof bags. And I was unloading them off the dock and the boat was going up and just a wave came and just 2 of the bags just literally floated off the boat. And I just managed to grab them, but they were totally soaked through with sort of seawater. I mean, I could tell you 100 stories like that. She's never complained. She always there's been the odd moment, but, she's pretty amazing. So I would say she does have that streak of steel. So it's relative when I say, does she like the wild? Because your baseline is pretty skewed on what day-to-day life is. It's the most adventure someone would ever experience on a normal scale. Right. But for her, it's just life. She gave birth to 3 children with just a bit of gas and air. The last one at home in the bedroom. I was saying, honey, you need to take something like just an aspirin or something. And she's going, and the midwife's going, you can't because that thins your blood. You're in it now. I was like, well, screw it. I'm having an aspirin. There's no turning back. I'm having the aspirin just watching you. This is she is tough. Clearly.
Oh my
wow.
God.
Okay. Well, we look forward to getting to meet her, and I will apologize in person for how I described her as your ballast. Well, I do want to talk, Bear. You were kind enough to mail me your newest book, The Greatest Story Ever Told. I'm holding it here in what hopefully is typical Bear fashion. I've honored this book by taking it with me on all the adventures. I brought it to Bolivia with me last week. I had it with me in Texas this week. I have coffee stains on it. It's written, it's underlined.
It already looks so vintage because of the coffee.
It's phenomenal, this book. And I was not expecting it at all. You sent, I'm going to send you my new book. And I assumed it would be adventure tales and your faith and, just sort of this grit over talent that has been a characteristic, a trademark, a calling card of your life. I was not expecting what it is. If you'll allow me, and I know authors hate this, but if you'll allow me to basically, in my own words, say what I think this is a John Grisham take on the life and death of Jesus Christ. Like if John Grisham was there writing a fictionalized version, but true, you took the actual words of the gospel, but brought them in a way that it makes you feel like you're reading a murder mystery novel. I mean, it's stupendous, wow. Bear.
You're so sweet. You know what? It's also the greatest thing I've ever done. And I really mean that. If I could be known in my life beyond my family and stuff, if I could be remembered ever for one thing, I would give up all the Special Forces and Everest summits and Emmy Awards, I'd give them all up. They're meaningless alongside this. This is the thing that is, it's the legacy of what I'd like to be known for. It's like, I don't know, it's his story, history. It's the greatest story ever told. It's like, when I hear you say things like that, it means so much, because I always wanted the book to be like gritty and thumbed and coffee stained and all of that. But it's a great description, the John Grisham of Jesus's life, because the amazing thing is, it's never been done before. There have been 1 million books written on the life of Jesus. I think it's something like 2.5 million books or something. Not one has ever just told his story, but without changing a word that he said. So, you got the 4 Gospels but I'm amazed at how many, people, first of all, don't know the story of Jesus. Secondly, people of faith, so people who would call themselves Christians, would maybe have never read the actual entire story of Jesus through. You might have, we tend to know stories, especially if you're a casual churchgoer. It's like, the Good Samaritan or the, whatever story. But you read it like this. It's like, and it's not like maybe the best, greatest story ever told, or could be. If this thing is true, it is incomparable in terms of like a love story of just, it's just unbelievable, the story. And so I wanted to write it, but I didn't want to change any of Jesus's words. And I wanted to keep it absolutely accurate. So nothing jars, nothing is wrong. Nothing has got theologians going, hold on, he didn't go to Capernaum on a Wednesday or this, it's all absolutely accurate. But instead of just hearing like Jesus was taken to the place of Golgotha and crucified,
you call it Skull Hill.
We actually describe it. The Roman guard grabbed an iron bolt from the bucket, knelt on Jesus's elbow, and drove that nail through his. So I'll describe what happens. But it's not even out yet. It's out in July in the States. I wrote it while I was in the jungle with Jesse. We were filming another show, and we were staying in this little lodge.
Of course you did.
Wow.
Well, it was kind of cool.
Did you bring a laptop with you, or did you have it on like in your journal, or what?
No, I wrote it on my computer, but it was like I was sharing this little room with Jesse, and we were filming every day this celebrity bear hunt Netflix show we've just done. And it was kind of really fun, but it was kind of, it was fun. We'd work hard for 6 hours a day, and then, I'd be back at this base. And I literally just wrote all night. And Jesse would say goodnight to me at 11 o'clock, and he'd come back at 4, and I'd still be writing. And he'd go, are you on drugs or something? And I go, I don't know. It's just like, I'm keeping going. We're keeping going. I'd jump in the the Land Rover to drive, 5 miles through the jungle to where we were filming, and I'd be writing, and like just crazily for about a month. Wow. And then it was a long process of like working with these theologians to tighten everything, make sure everything's correct, going, hold on, that's not quite right here. And the end result, as I say, proudest thing I've ever done. Can't wait for the world to see it.
I mean, you just
Beautiful.
compared it to, you just said in the same breath, the Emmys, climbing Mount Everest, bringing the British Special Forces. I mean, that's a pretty insane thing to say. I'm more proud about this.
Wow.
But having finished it, having read every word, and having devoured it, enjoyed it, savored it, but also having been a lifelong student of the bloody death of Jesus Christ, and I've published on it, and this is what you've done is masterful. You've managed to harmonize the accounts. So you've taken all the 4, the synoptics and John, and harmonize. So some people don't realize you have to look at all 4 of them and take their different perspectives and get them. You've done all of that, but then you've also managed to make it come across as fiction, which has been done, but not retaining the actual words that come out of his mouth. So that's a big feat. But then you also, what you did that was so unique was you used the way they would have said it, but brought it over to English. So it's not Jerusalem, it's Jerusalem or Johann, or you've taken, so it comes across in a way that's shocking because it's not how we're used to having things described. So reading it, you really are put into that world, and it comes alive, but it's accurate. You've done a scholarly work, but also a very accessible work. So I think those two things are both hard things, but you've managed to do both of them.
Well, I'm so grateful for that. But it's like, it's one of those things, I know it stands up. That's what I like. And things like, obviously we've done this series with The Chosen, where I took all the Chosen cast into the wild. We've done the show that comes out next year called Chosen in the Wild. And, so obviously I've worked, it's where us guys met. So obviously I had brilliant access through them, and I ran it through a whole bunch of their theologians and a couple of guys, especially who work with me really closely. And it's like, it 100% stands out. It's such a weird sort of feeling because I've never been academic as such, but I know I could stand in front of 50 of the best theologian scholars with this, and it's perfect. It's like, I can't do better than this because, and also the cool thing is, like, I read like a 400-page book on the interaction between Jesus and Peter on that beach after the resurrection, that restoration conversation where he claws his way from the boat to the shore. I read like a 400 or 500-page book on this, and yet in the greater story, it's a quick scene, but it's the intonation of everything, it's got to say all of those things that these books say, and they're books like that on every encounter. Look at John the Baptist at when he's in prison with Herod, and the one thing he asks his disciples to ask of Jesus. Bear in mind, John and Jesus, he knew. He spent all his life saying Jesus is one, and yet what does he say to his disciples? Ask Jesus, is he really? Are you really who you say you are? That element of doubt, even in John the Baptist, because he's on his own in prison about to be killed. It's like the human, beautiful moments that we kind of lose when we just get sort of taught the Bible. Sometimes we kind of lose these things. We think all these disciples are these great figures. The disciples were aged 15 to 25.
Gosh. 15
to 25. Yeah. All I see growing up was Peter with a great beard.
Yes.
So-and-so fishing, it's like Hercules. 15 to 25. Regular people who'd probably never set foot in a sort of, and it's keeping that visceral, raw, real doubt, struggle, questioning of the Jesus story and making it, like, as you say, a thriller. So,
and you jump through, you do something else unique in it, Bear, and that's that you change narrators 4 times. It starts from Jesus's mother's perspective, and then it goes to Peter, and then it goes to John, and then it ends with Mary Magdalene, and the way
Thomas as well, who's
doubting
great.
Thomas,
because he's really cynical, and Mary's section ends with this beautiful bit where Jesus is like reluctant to begin. He's had 30 years. He knows it's coming. He knows he's come for one purpose. He knows it's coming, but he also knows the minute he starts doing stuff, the road begins. Once he starts raising the dead and walking on water, it begins. So he's like, there's a reluctance. And I love that interaction with Mary at the wedding at Cana, where, she's going, solve this problem. Solve this. The wine's out. Solve the problem. And he's going, no, I'm just having a good time with my friends. It's like, no, it's just like, sometimes everyone needs a nudge. And it goes from this very sort of beautiful end. Mary's section ends with that, to then Thomas, who witnessed it and going, I'm not going to be had by a magic trick with some wine, even though it was 600 gallons, it was good, but I'm not going to be conned by this. And then his section is this sort of revelation of like what changes his heart is the love of Jesus rather than the miracles. And then, as you say, we go on Peter, John, and ends with Mary Magdalene. But it sort of gives everyone's perspective, because it is all of our stories. That's the point. It's all of our stories, whether we're the cynic, whether we're the broken, whether we're the trusting but afraid. It's like all of our stories are wrapped up. And I don't want anyone on earth to miss this story. That's the thing. My goal is that every person on this planet reads this book. It's like, that's it. I mean, it's ambitious, and the greatest one so far, I think, is Harry Potter at 250 million copies. Dang. And we've got 9 billion people on the planet. But I'm not afraid for the Lord to shoot for the stars, and the goal is every single person to read it. So why not?
Amen. I believe.
I can't think of a better book for everyone on earth to read, because you don't, you read the 400-page book on the one interaction, but then it comes across in 2 pages. Most of these chapters are 2 or 3 pages. It leaves you wanting more. It's a harder job with respect to every theologian who writes the NT Wright length, 900-page behemoth on Paul or whatever, you reduce it down to the irreducible minimum. And that's really unique. That's a gift to say more by saying less. And then I think you shift and pivot, you pull the best phrases from the Message and you'll shift over to the New Living. And then you'll also, you also come up, you're poetic. Like my favorite in the entire book, you're talking about when Jesus is about to heal the man with the withered hand, and it's on the Sabbath, and he knows it's going to confront a fight with the Pharisees, and you say Yeshua, what you call Jesus, because it is how Jesus would be. His name was Joshua, Yeshua, right? You say Yeshua was staring at them, his eyes full of fire and mischief. And I just think that combination,
Wow.
that's a characteristic of the whole book. You write like that, to see Jesus standing there about to heal a man, but first to see him look at the enemies with eyes of fire and mischief. I just,
Beautiful.
It comes to life.
Like, he was way wilder and way more mischievous than I think we've ever been conned to believing. The Jesus that we get presented with often is like so sanitized. And, he was wilder, tougher. I mean, that's the other thing. You think meek and mild, of which, he was obviously the most gentle, humble, affirming man who's ever walked the earth. But in terms of a warrior spirit, you will not get a tougher, more nails-kept person. It's like, John the Baptist was tough, but like Jesus, 40 days in that desert. I've been to that desert. You try living out there for 40 days. I survived about 2 and I was broken. It's like... to knowingly walk into that Jerusalem city for that last week, knowing that you're going to be, flayed to with not an inch of skin left on your body, and you're going to be tortured and beaten and crucified. I mean, it's like, and yet your only point of sort of nerves is giving it to the fig tree on your way in. He is like it's another level of kind of warrior courage. And I kind of want to portray that. But it's interesting you say the different versions I use, because, it's like what I love about The Chosen is so good, but obviously they're creating dialogue for Jesus. And it's so brilliant, The Chosen, because it's always about pointing people towards Jesus.
Yeah.
But I wanted to keep this absolutely like, this is fact. This is fact. This is what happened. And sometimes it's so tempting to add even like an and or a the, or an emphasis on his words, and I just had to keep resisting. I literally didn't even change a comma from the New Testament.
I love that.
So it stands up, and I don't know. Like I say, it's my work stuff is it's going to come and go. It will come and go. It's like I'm not interested. I'm not in my life interested in kind of promoting kind of what I've done. It's like it's not the adventure spirit for me either. It's like adventure loses its magic when it's for a kind of a summit or a trophy, or I don't know, I've always felt like that. So I really hold those things lightly because they've never held an appeal. But this, like, somebody came up to me last night who's a 70-year-old guy who's the chairman of one of the biggest companies in the world, one of the biggest 10 companies in the world. And he said, I'm a hard man. He said, I've read this book and I didn't know what to expect. And I cried page after page like a baby. And he goes, my wife thought I was having a breakdown. I've been a man of faith and I go to church, but it's kind of like great, but never right in there. And he goes, I wept. I've encountered Jesus like I've never encountered before.
Wow.
And it's like, that's what I want. And, of course, the Bible is always going to be number one. It's the ultimate resource for us. It was the simplicity and the plain language is the gold to those of us that know. But in terms of bringing other people to encounter the story, sometimes it has to be brief and punchy.
Yeah.
And like Winston Churchill said when he wrote to his mother at one point, he goes, I'm so sorry, mother, to write you such a long letter. I don't have the time to write a short one. And it's, but
wow.
brevity is hard, so you're kind of right. But it was always a goal. Keep it short.
Be brief, be brilliant, be gone. Those are some of the best advice you can get on public speaking. And I think
brilliant, yeah.
You've done that. Charles Spurgeon said, to preach a 5-minute message, I would need a week. But to preach an hour-long one, I'm ready right now.
Well, there you go.
Because you can blather on. You can blather on, all day long.
Yeah.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Well,
I'm next.
Okay,
Levi's
so Jennie,
been hogging
I finished it. I kept it with me.
And I'm next.
Jennie's taking next. I'm going to say this, Bear. I think you have done something significant, something special. I think this will be a legacy. I think all of your work is special. I think all of it's powerful. And I think it's all cumulative. I think everything you've done doesn't have to be pitted against this because it all brought you here.
Yeah.
Every experience, every trail, every getting lost, every hard moment, every mistake, it brought you here. And God had you in his grace have the attention of 1 billion people on this planet at a time, and you've stewarded it to point people to Jesus. And I think God is going to bless that. And
Amen.
I can't think of a better book to point someone to who's exploring, who's seeking, who's hardened, who's lost, a college graduate. I commend every person to get a copy, read it for yourself. Because for me, it was like reintroducing myself to Jesus again for the first time.
Wow.
But I think for someone outside of faith, I can't think, because I always say that, just look at the red words. Go look at the red words. Oh, I don't like church. Oh, it's fine. Go look at the red words. And I sat across the table once with a man who was a billionaire, and he said to me, I did what you said. I read the words of Jesus. And he said, and this is not sanitized, but he said, that Jesus is a total BA. But he used the phrase. And I'm like, he is. It's just not what you expect him to be. And that comes through in this. This is look at Jesus. And it's not Bear's take on Jesus. You've agonized to just, here's who he is.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Well, you're so sweet to say that. And I do feel it is right what you say. It's kind of all of our journeys lead us. They're not like, it's for a purpose, isn't it? And on the shoulders of our battles and struggles and triumphs, it leads us to hopefully ever closer to the good stuff. And I do think the shoulders of giants is so important. And I remember reading that book, John Eldridge, I think it was Wild at Heart. And that was a really influential book for this, of just how playful Jesus was. And, he wants us to have fun. And that wild spirit is so important. And, there's so many books like that have helped me over the years. But I'm really grateful for your words because it means a lot. So thank you.
Well, I mean them, and there's no being forced here. I commend people to get The Greatest Story Ever Told by Bear Grylls, an eyewitness account. Is there a book website for this? I'm sure people can pre-order it on all the normal places. Audiobook, I imagine, is coming as well.
Yeah. We order from all the normal places. We're doing the audiobook. Actually, it's been recorded today. We've got some brilliant actors doing it. So, yeah, that's going to be fun as well. But, like I say, I really haven't done any yet of these, sort of podcasts. And it's so nice to spend a little time with you because, like I said at the beginning, sort of friends first. And we love you guys. And I just think you've been so amazing through your journey. And I really hope we can stay connected and stay friends. And I know we've got a vague plan for maybe doing something together next year, and we'll bring the book and do something around that as well. But we love you guys and think you're amazing. Well,
what you live and stand for is we fight for so much. I mean, we want young people to get outside. Our youth conference every summer is outdoors for a reason. Worshiping outside, camping outside, being outside. So many of the youth conferences in the States, anyhow, are in convention centers and in arenas, which there's nothing wrong with that. But there's something different worshiping God outside. There's something different hearing a sermon outside. That experience, and that's why we're like, one day bucket list goal, have Bear Grylls at Movement Conference, because it's like the two things make so much sense: faith and outdoors, and all the things, and Montana and adventures. So when we saw you in the gym, and by the way, watching you work out with Jesse that day was so fun because of how much I was noticing how much attention you give to mobility. Yes, you're strong and all that, but it seems like you're really prioritizing joint mobility. You were doing so much stretching.
Handstands.
Yeah, you were doing like wild handstand stuff.
It was very inspiring. I was like, I need to be better.
But I felt like it was destiny.
You got the stretching is key, isn't it? But I like the strength stuff as well. But it's good. There's nothing like training with family is the best. And your festival sounds so fun. I'll bring some of the family. We will come and do that. I know we will. We'll come and do it sometime with you guys, and we'll continue the adventure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bear Grylls,
thank you so much. We love you. We are so grateful for you and Shara and your boys, and can't wait for, like you said, our friendship to grow. And thank you for your steadiness and your faithfulness in what God's allowed you to do and called you to do. And we love you guys.
Yeah.
So sweet. Back at you. You're amazing.
All right, guys, get the book. Check it out. Bear, we'll catch up somewhere. Some wild adventure in Montana, no doubt. And we will eat huckleberries while we're out here as well.
Huckleberry pie. That'd be so fun.
That we can do. And we can't wait. Best. We can't wait to meet Marmaduke. Because with a name like that, I'm imagining there's some real personality.
Yeah, no, he's good fun. Yeah, he is good fun.
And middle child.
I've loved this podcast, by the way. I'm going to do this more often. I'm outside. I'm in the rain. The computer's literally caked. I mean, it's literally soaking wet. It's brilliant. I'm happy. It makes me more relaxed.
Let's get you inside. It's only fitting you would do a podcast covered in rain with the camera lens covered in mud. Okay, have a good day, Bear.
Yeah, we love you.
We love you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to swing by LeviLusko.com and JennieLusko.com to see what's going on in our world.
And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And in the meantime, we would love to connect with you on social media.
Jennie and Levi Lusko out.
Access more